All right, we are live. So today we are going to talk about a movie called Stalker, um,
Mm-hmm.
by Andrew Tarkovsky, or how it
Mm-hmm.
is.
Andrej
Andrej Tarkovsky.
Tarkovsky.
There you go. Um, so okay, the basic plot is so it's the Soviet Union. It's um, I think it's probably set. The movie came out in 1979, and it does look like that
Mm-hmm.
era, if maybe a little bit.
Weirdly enough, technically, if you go by the, let's say, canon, it's also in the novel because this movie is a direct sequel to a 1971, published in 1972 novel by these two guys were scientists and authors, Arkady and Boris Drugatsky, and they helped with drafting and screenwriting for this movie. And technically, in the novel, you feel it way more because some characters hint at this. It's more like an alternative timeline in the late 50s, early 60s almost. And this movie being a sequel makes sense that it's in the 70s.
So, has this got anything to do with Chernobyl, by the way? Um,
In a sense, yes, because it was filmed around the Chernobyl power plant. And I think the shot that you see at the end should be, if not the power plant itself, one of the auxiliary facilities nearby. And in a way, this movie also caused a lot of health issues to the crew because they were filming in those areas, and probably there was um, like a little bit of dispersal of the chemicals and everything that was used in those factories. And a lot of the people in the crew got sick. They say that even Tarkovsky got sick and probably died because of side effects on his health during the shooting. You can see that all the places they go, there is lots of mold, um, rust, murky, dirty water, and dead bodies. There are quite a few shots when you can see actual dead bodies. They didn't need to prepare any props. All that you see there is stuff that they found on the spot.
I guess other than those tanks, probably, I imagine.
Mm.
Yeah.
I
Um,
bet many of those were there already
um,
because you need to think it's the 1970s, and a lot of those areas haven't been cleaned up after the war. We still find wreckages in the rest of Europe. You can imagine in a land like that where they don't want certain things to be touched unless there is a direct order from the local authority, and the local authority has to speak to the central authority, and until they hear a response, no one moves anything.
mm, so, I have a confession to make, and that is that so I watched this movie in two sittings. And during my first sitting, I basically just fell asleep. To be fair, this was before they got to the zone. Anyway, going back to explaining the plot.
I'll
Um,
tell you this movie it's slow, but watch Solaris and then you'll see this movie compared to Solaris it's rather fast.
and Solaris is again by the same
Yep,
director.
by Tarkovsky, based on a Polish novel, but the same director and very similar when it comes to style and everything.
Yeah, and again, if I'm not mistaken, it's also sci-fi as well, like
Hmm.
this.
Very similar, like psychological slash spiritual themes interwoven with the mysterious and something behind reality in a sense. A man of science trying to understand something that they cannot properly measure.
Right. Yeah, come to think of it, one of the characters here is a scientist. So
Hmm.
I guess when the movie starts, we are introduced to the zone, which is I don't know how large it is.
They say they don't say it in the movie. In the book, they say it's there is more than one technically in the book, and they say that it's a sizable area. I don't remember the exact measurements, but it's like quite large, and that's why they've got such a hard time preventing people from entering it.
I see. And so what has happened is that a meteorite or something has
Mm-hmm.
fallen there. How I
Hey,
can't.
Fahrenheit.
Oh,
Hey, how's it going?
hi. We just
We were
started.
introducing the plot.
Yeah.
All right, good, good.
Uh, well, given that you joined us, why don't you do it? Because I suck at it. Fahrenheit.
Okay, so a man who's a stalker, a professor, and a writer walk into a bar. Um,
That's true. That's the beginning.
They really do. Yeah.
uh, uh, um,
It's a Soviet joke, so it takes 2 hours to beat.
yeah. Well, so basically, three people enter or sort of go into this place called the zone.
Hmm.
The zone um is never really explicitly told to you what what it is in the actual film, apart from like
Yes.
the text at the beginning.
Hmm.
Um, but they walk into this zone to try and find this miracle room that grants your innermost desire. Um, then they decide to do. Then they decide not to enter the room, and then they go back. Um,
Yeah,
and that's the end, basically.
more or less. The plot is very simple, but that's why it's so fascinating to me, at least. Because the more they get closer to what they really wish, the more they are afraid of really doing it. Talks a lot about how we think we know what we really want. We really delude ourselves almost that we know for sure what we desire, and instead very often either when we and this is another story. It's called the Maddened Orland by Ariosto, if I remember right, where the protagonist finally achieves his deepest goal and is like, and that's it. I was expecting more out of what was my deepest desire. Or else it's more like in this story when you are confronted with the opportunity to really get what you want, it's terrifying because you realize that not even yourself truly understand what you really want. And I think Zizek, that we probably will quote a little bit because he spoke about this movie in his pervert guide to movies, if I remember right. Yes. Um, he speaks how very often when our dreams come true, they are called nightmares, and it's better to keep them locked away. And I think this movie, in a sense, it's also about this because there is a subplot that it's important because it talks about a character that's called the Porcupine, who was a stalker himself. um, Once he received what his heart, his secret, like its deepest desire comes true, and he realizes how shallow this desire was, he commits suicide in the span of a week. And this is one of the subplots that give way to the narrative and to why at the end the characters decide to give up the idea of getting their true desire answered.
But by the way, in Russian, they literally do they. I can't remember. Do they like literally use the word stalker or um?
Stalker. Hmm.
Like,
They say Stalker
I see.
because it's a title.
Yeah.
It's
Uh,
not really a name; it's a title.
yeah, and also I guess we haven't explained what a stalker is, but it's basically
Hmm.
the name, the title or whatever for someone who goes into the zone.
Ventures, yeah, into the zone
Uh,
because it's illegal to get in there. It's like a cordon area, and whoever enters If they are taken by the authorities, uh, if they are lucky, they get jail time. If not, they get shot to death. It's implied.
So, if I understand correctly, Chiasmo, you have also read the books, uh,
Correct.
and the book is called A Roadside Picnic. Is it a series? So,
Exactly. It's one book. It's not even that long, but it's fascinating. It's very similar in many regards to the book, and it's a prequel. The character you see in the movie, in a sense, it's the stalker after all the events of the book, sorry, and is a changed man after the end of the book. So I'm not gonna spoil it. It's a book that's worth reading. It's very short. It's fascinating, well written, interesting.
but do you need to have read the book in order to watch the movie?
No, no, it's not mandatory. You miss some details. For example, the real name of the stalker. I mean, its real nickname. It's not Stalker. It's Red.
I see, I see.
And technically, there is a connection between the book and the video games. In the opening cinematic of um, Shadows of Chernobyl, which is the first of the three games by CGS Games, the character that saves the marked one, the main protagonist of the video game, is supposed to be Red, the main protagonist of the book and of the movie.
I see. I mean, do they explain stuff like why does the Stoker throw nuts with um you know uh, was it a piece of cloth to decide the direction to go in, or is that
No, that one is more like because at this point he's such an expert that he knows how to recognize where the danger is. He just needs to find the right path. In a sense, I always figured the stalker being more like a pathfinder. Imagine someone that's been on a battlefield for so long, he recognizes where a landmine would be, and he just needs to figure. He just has to figure the best way to circumvent the minefield,
so
or more like a skilled, like a salty dog that knows the sea so well, he knows how to avoid all its storms, and that's why everyone thinks that there is no danger. It's just this person is so good at avoiding the real dangers of the zone that it seems like nothing is happening.
one of the criticisms which I've seen put against the movie is that like it successfully builds a lot of tension, especially after they go to the zone. And
Hmm.
you keep on thinking like is something going to happen to one of them? Um, but in the end, like nothing happens to them. That I
Yeah,
mean,
but that's what I was saying, because the stalker is such an expert. Again, it's like someone um,
yeah,
going for a trip.
but even when they disobey the Stoker, they turn out fine or sort of fine, I guess.
Well,
Yeah.
the first time they, well, the only times when they disobey it, you see it only twice, and there is an explanation for this. The first time, the zone even warns the writer. He said to him to go back. You
S-
hear a voice telling him to go back, and they try to say it wasn't me. So there is this, like, again, it's because it's linked to the theme of of the mystery of the zone. It has a will of its own in a sense.
okay.
And the second time is towards the end, when they go into the meat grinder. Nothing happens, and there is an explanation. It's because the zone, in a sense, already passed judgment onto them, and yeah, and since they avoided the other traps, it sort of grants them passage. It forgives them.
So yeah, I mean, yeah. So what about the books? Is it the same there? Like, oh, do the
In the
traps go?
books, a few people end up really badly either mangled or killed. There is a secondary character that does not appear in the movie, however, uh, reused in the video game, called Mole. Like the animal that digs. In the video game, it's called like this because he uses the underground passages to move around the zone, so they made him a more thematic character. In the book, it's called the Mole because it's disfigured. He has like what they describe like uh, a spastic arm, as like a twisted arm, and it's explained that in the past he was called the Beautiful until he accidentally stepped into an anomaly that almost killed him. He survived, but he was mangled, and now he works for a famous, like, important stalker, and it's like his assistant because he cannot go into the zone anymore, being lame and disfigured.
Do we get?
Another time, I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
Sorry, go on.
Another time, this famous stalker, I don't recall the name, is saved by Red, by the main character, after he stepped in what it's called um the witch soup, which melts pretty much his legs, like the bones disappear from his legs, and he has to be dragged out of the zone. And in return, this guy tells the main protagonist the location of the wish granter. So there is the connection between the book and the movie.
Do we get?
Another,
Yeah.
sorry, just let me finish with
Yeah.
the anomaly here in the books. Um, then there is at the beginning of the book there is sort of like a scene when there is like a almost invisible net similar to a spider web. Someone touches it, and after a few hours they die of a stroke. And the last one is the meat grinder that appears also in the movie, and it's the whirlwind anomaly video game. And in the movie, he sorts of let the writer survive. However, in the book, the son of the famous stalker who told the location of the wish granter rushes towards the wish granter without checking, and it's caught by this anomaly. And the description is like a hold an expert maid, when after using a rag, just when you squeeze it to remove all the dirty water and you twist it, it says that the same happens to this poor guy and he dies. So
Do
those are the anomalies in the book.
uh do we in the books or in the games, do we hear anything else about Porcupine, the protect?
There is in the third video game, Call of Pripyat. No, yeah, Call of Pripyat. Yes, one of the anomaly, like, in that video game there are some anomalous zones. There is the cut, which is like an area where there is like, it looks like a giant knife cut the earth. And one of these is called the porcupine tree, which is like a twisted tree that looks like with all these giant pricks, these giant spikes coming out, that looks a little bit like a porcupine. And they say that it's named after a famous stalker. So that's
So we
the
know.
reference.
I see.
Mhm.
All right. Um. Okay. So, well, where do we go from here?
Oh yeah,
We
I
could
just
talk.
wanted to talk about the like production because apparently so Tarkovsky filmed the entire
Hmm.
film, but I think all of the outdoor shots were ruined, and so he had to go back and like basically like remake the entire film again. And as a result, the film is very different it's very different from what it would have been. Obviously, I couldn't find anything that really indicated what sort of what the film was like beforehand. Just another thing about the production. It's I don't know if this is like myth or not, but sort of apparently it's thought that a lot of the cast and Tarkovsky himself sort of got some radiation poisoning when they were
Yes,
filming.
yes, yes. I was talking about this because it was filmed not too far from the Chernobyl power plant. Kind of
Yeah,
ironic
exactly.
that a movie about supernatural and natural disaster was filmed 10 years before the real tragedy of Chernobyl in the same area, and when a real zone was created.
And
Yeah,
and apparently, according to Wikipedia, um, some of the people employed to take care of the abandoned Chernobyl power plant uh, refer to themselves as stalkers.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. They were the first response team. They were called the Stalker, and they were sent pretty much into the core. Imagine these people sacrificed their life because the power core of a nuclear reactor is filled with water, and some of these people had to go with those kind of all covering swimming suits for special operation in the water to close some valves to avoid even more radioactive water and everything to spill out, and they pretty much melted away in the reactor.
mm.
Sounds like the zone, all right. Um,
Hmm.
so yeah, a very weird take which I heard by more than one in more than one video essay was that well, the fact that there were no women, but well,
Hmm.
Well, there was.
yeah, I mean, when they go to the zone,
There is a woman, but the interesting thing is, even in the book, it's only the man who venture into the zone. And this one, I always found it kind of interesting. For me, what I read into it is that the other one is a very dangerous zone, very dangerous place, and the natural instinct of man is to protect their women. So that's why they don't allow them to go in there because, like, if I die, I die. That's it. I want you to keep on living.
Yeah, I also think in the film, Stalker like tells his wife like sort of kind of directly. I don't really want you going in there, obviously because it's dangerous, but also
Hmm.
your desire like might actually be being fulfilled,
Yeah.
and like that could be like a very bad thing for you.
Hmm.
And so he just doesn't let her because I think she actually offered to go with him when he came
Hmm.
back, and he was very upset because
Was
he
like, no,
didn't.
no, you cannot go exactly.
Yeah, yeah,
And in a sense, honestly, that scene is very touching because it's her just trying to comfort him. Honestly, you feel that she doesn't want to go there because at the
mm,
end of the movie, her final declaration is that no matter what, she is glad. Life is difficult, but she is happy with her man. Therefore, you can, in a sense, inquire without having to go too deep. Her true desire already happened. She's happy next to this wretched man because she really loves him. At the beginning, she
yeah,
seems mad at him because she's afraid. You can feel that she's terrified at the idea of him not being able to return from the zone this time.
yeah, yeah. You can like she's like literally on the floor like crying hysterically.
Yeah, she's probably one of the best. I think it's that final monologue by the wife is one of the best ones in the movie. And I remember there was this. I was friend with a Russian lady, and she told me that actress actually is a very famous Russian actress in those times in the 70s, 80s. So it's like a known face for Russian Russian people.
Mm.
Yeah, apparently they had some trouble publishing this. I don't know if publishing is the right word, but in showing this film.
Well,
And
yeah, passing through censor, because one of the points of both the novel and of the movie, one of the keys you can read the zone is sort of like the Soviet Union itself. It's an area that is blocked to the from the outside world. It's off limit to the rest of the world. Once you're inside, it's difficult to go out. And it's a land of both terrible things and great miracles. And at the same time, you can read this as so that's one of the reasons why it could be seen as something to be censored by the authorities. And another reading, and I think that's the one I always felt both reading the novel and watching the movie, the zone is a liminal zone. The zone is the sacred. The zone is where God, where the divine intrudes into our lives, and that's what terrifies the secular government, and that's why they want to border it. It's dangerous because approaching the divine is dangerous. After all, in the Bible, whoever touches the Ark of the Covenant dies. Even the prophet, even Elijah, when he touches it by mistake, he dies on the spot. And it's the same thing with the zone. The zone can kill you at any instant. However, at the center of the zone, if you truly go there, and that's why in the movie they say he accepts the wretched, that's why he accepts those who have lost all other hopes. At the center of the zone, there is the true answer to all your questions. If you know how to ask it, it can give you true joy, true happiness. And that's what the stalker found. That's why, despite everything, he wants to return to the zone. In a sense, it's like
yeah, but
it's a it's
he,
not.
he he never
Sorry, go
went.
ahead.
Sorry, but he never did go into the room though. The
Aha, and here I can pull out that in the novel, technically, he already used the wish. He just didn't say to anyone. His desire was true happiness for everyone. He wished already for something,
I
Mm.
and his
see.
happiness
Interesting.
is the existence of the zone itself. That's why he's so mad when he discovers that the professor wants to plant a bomb in the center of the zone. It's like, you want to take everything away from me.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's definitely felt like a pilgrimage. Like that. That's what I was thinking. That they were going on a very dangerous
No,
journey to sort of like a holy site, basically.
yeah, exactly. It's
That
like
would
a
grant their wishes.
pilgrimage. It's like a
Yeah.
pilgrimage.
Um.
And however, the reward for this pilgrimage is the true understanding of your true nature, which is something dangerous. That's why everyone talks about the porcupine and his terrible demise.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I
It's
kind of,
something
I kind
it's
of,
interesting because the idea of sacrificing a brother to find the truth, it's something that it seems something similar to uh, sacred holocaust, in a sense, a sacrifice in front of God almost. Reminds me a little bit of Isaac, that was almost killed by his own father to appease God. In this case, though, there is no angel stopping the blade. The meat grinder claimed the life of Porcupine's brother, and when Porcupine went back to try and save his brother, rescue him from the land of the dead, almost. Instead, he became rich and he understood I really didn't love my brother. What drove him to kill himself. That's why I think it's a very deeply psychological and religious movie, even.
So
um,
yeah, go on, Fahrenheit.
yeah, I found that a lot of this film is sort of like in reverse. So, for example, like what would sort of regularly be regularly be subtext was sort of brought forward and
Yeah.
kind of directly into your attention, like sort of everyone's reason to be in the zone is known quite plainly. Everyone's motivation isn't exactly a mystery at any
Well,
point.
yes and no, because again, it's I like this juxtaposition. What the character what the character claims he wants, and what he truly wants. That's why even the professor at the end gives up the idea of bombing the room, because he realizes that maybe that's not his true desire. He just wanted to challenge himself, and getting to the threshold of this sancta sanctorum, this holiest of holy, it's enough. He conquered his own demons, and the same can be said of the writer. Even if you can inquire by what the stalker says at the end, they really didn't understand what was going on. They didn't understand that they had something close to an encounter with the divine, because the stalker is like, they don't understand, they don't believe. At the same time,
Yeah,
some
but
something was revealed to
what
them.
I'm trying to say is that this would usually be kind of unspoken, right?
Yeah,
Where
yeah.
in this the characters often have very long
Hmm.
monologues
Well,
where they kind of tell
this is
you
kind of
exactly what they think and feel
mhm,
at different points. It's quite interesting
mhm.
in its own way, but it's very unlike other films, right?
Yeah. From what I know, it's something that's very common in Russian photography. This kind of theatrical approach to character analysis, and I find it quite interesting because there is sort of innocence to it.
So,
Yeah. There's a frankness to it, right?
Hmm.
so what was the doctor's motivation?
The professor
The professor, yeah,
technically is,
yeah.
he says he wants to see this miracle, that like prove me that something like this exists. My man is playing on the idea, he's a professor, he's someone who works in the field of science of the empirical, therefore he demands proof. Show me the evidence, like they say.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
like the proto Redditon. No, well, jokes aside, the idea is that he wants to see. It's like, if, because very often there is like these parallels between this story and the Bible, like the two disciples from Emmaus that don't believe that the resurrection. So again, this lack of belief in the possibility of a true answer to your true desire. I'd say is like the Saint Thomas of the movie. Lest I see the wounds and put my finger in them, I do not believe. In this case, he wants to see the wish maker, this room where desires come true, where these miracles come true.
Oh, but by the way, we didn't mention this, but what? So professor and a writer are basically code names or something,
Hmm.
right?
Because in the zone, you are not you, you are who you are. And I find this again fascinating. The stalker is the stalker, the professor is the professor, the writer is the writer. You need to strip yourself of your own identity to truly, and that's why even when it's in front of the, like when he says, we are here, we are on the threshold, remember all your life. You need to come, in a sense, you need to come clean with yourself first. And to do this, you sort of need to remove all the layers, all the, it's sort of like, I don't know, it's difficult to explain, but I think it has to do with the metaphysical conception of life that the Russians have. This idea that it's, you are not defined by your name, but who you are in yourself. Which again, it's sort of like is not uncommon in other cultures as well. But I think in the sorry, in the Russian mentality, it's very strong, even because of their orthodox views when it comes to religion and who we are.
So, why does the zone want to take your guns away?
Mm.
Um,
Again, it's because it's something in between. And here, I don't know if this maybe sounds a bit pretentious, but to me, it's because the encounter with the divine borders with both the sacred and the taboo. Um, the stalker is a marked person, however, is the only person who knows how to get to the divine, which is very similar to the concept of the shamanic that you find in many cults, in many animistic religions, etc. It's a person that is both blessed and tainted. It's both consecrated and desecrated by the touch of the divine. And I think it's the same in this case. Is it clear enough? I hope.
Yeah. We hear you. Yeah.
Like,
That's true.
um,
I definitely, yeah. I think a good job was done in the film to make it feel like the zone was judging the characters all through. But interestingly, so much of it is sort of relying on this on a dialogue. You do have to pay attention, but I think if you pay attention to how the stalker acts in particular, I think that actor did a good job. Sort of keeping the tension up, along with the writing as well.
mhm,
There is this very tense feeling throughout the whole film. Though, to be honest, sort of near the end, you sort of get used to the feeling, and it just becomes this like a melancholy.
mhm,
Um, but yeah, I think honestly, I think a better job could have been done. I don't want to say that it would have been better if like there was like a fourth character involved, and that character gets killed somehow. But
yeah,
I
I
think
get what
I,
you
th-
mean.
I think that would have helped because otherwise it's just
However,
sort of
you can see
you
that
know
the zone claimed many lives. You see the
yeah,
destruction.
you can there's
You
dead
see
bodies, I think,
point
even in the
blank. Yeah, exactly. There is a beautiful scene, like the way Tarkovsky frames the scenes. It's something that sometimes I wish I could do. Like I could
yeah,
bring
yeah,
art to that degree. When you see those two dead bodies, it's like clear that it's a man and
yeah,
a woman who were giving one last embrace, and you see a plant sprouting between the two of them. Like,
yeah, and interestingly, like this all these outside shots were done sort of on like limited time with sort of very limited budget because
hmm
those are all reshots basically. But yeah, there's this film does look very pretty.
hmm
You know,
the camera work,
all its quite nice natural lighting.
yes, you
It's
can
very,
see
but
that they really.
also yeah, also at the same time, it's very depressing. It's very dour.
Mhm.
It 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 definitely feels like you're in the Soviet Union when you're watching this
Yeah,
film. You know,
there is. I
it
would
feels like
say
you're really
I
there.
would call it like a dour melancholy.
it's Soviet
It's
Kino.
Yeah,
like this painful.
yeah.
It's painful, and at the same time, you wish you were there
Well, I
because
don't know about
I don't.
that.
Yeah, I don't know. It's like uh, in this one for me rhymes ends with the final monologue of the wife that says that it was painful, but she wouldn't change it because there is sort of and this is something that some people bring to the edgy resolution, even even a gushing cat at its own charm, its own beauty. In this case, it's more like melancholic, like in a sense, it's our even our bad experiences give us meaning. If we were happy all the time, we wouldn't be able to distinguish between true joy and true pain.
I guess it's like those old Russian people, and apparently they do exist, who say that oh, things were better back when they were under the Iron
Uh,
Curtain or whatever.
it's something that I found in many of the pieces by Alexander Solzhenitsyn, another Russian writer that writes about how one of his famous sentences is the line between good and evil cuts through all human hearts, which is very true. And he describes as well this sense that, in a sense, Russians are defined by their a special sort of humility born of facing so much torment, no matter the times. And you can feel a little bit of this in the movie. A little bit. That's an understatement. You
Yeah,
can
yeah.
really feel that in the movie. Even the places outside the zone, there is like, first of all, they are all filmed in sepia tone, and you can feel that they are like meowed away. They are like beaten, eroded, marked by time. Almost, you can feel like the wrinkles of time itself onto everything, not just the characters, but the environs and the locations and the buildings.
Yeah, the buildings are all filthy damp.
hmm
Um,
And
yeah,
yes, there is sort of a strange coziness to it because they feel lived in. You can feel that real people and their emotions, when in a sense reverberate in them. They left a mark.
it's going back to our August in the Water discussion, isn't it?
A little bit, I think this is the true talent of an artist when they are able to show uh, the human nature even in what the humans make. And art itself being a craft of the humans, of the human race, has this unique potentiality that very often is squandered. I'm not denying this. However, a movie like Stalker, I think, really shows that.
So I guess another little thing which well, I'm not the only one who noticed it, but is that outside the zone it's in black and white, but in the zone
Yeah,
it's
yeah, I
color
was saying it's sepia.
sepia.
In a sense, it's the point of view. However, only after, notice this, it's sepia, then they go into the zone. Once they go out of the zone, it's again sepia, and then when it's united with family, it goes back to color. And I think it's because the character, um, in a sense, you see the happiness of the stalker. He's happy in the zone, and after that journey back into the zone, he's happy again with family. Is joy, let's say joy, because happiness has to do with the word hap, which means fate in old English. So let's say joy. I prefer the term joy. Its real joy is in the contact with the zone, with this liminal area between the sacred and the taboo. And then his other moments of joy are with his family. In a sense, he's blessed and cursed to be a stalker, and is cursed and blessed to have this family.
Right. What else is there to say? Well, I guess about the wish grant thing,
hmm
room. It's as we talked about in DMs, it's sort of a monkey's paw, isn't it? I mean,
Mm.
in the book, for example, or anywhere else, does anyone actually end up getting their wish? Actually,
Yes,
it
yes.
was
In the book, it's explained that the stalker for that later on tells Red, the main protagonist, about the wish granter, Red being the stalker in the movie, had two beautiful children as a gift from the zone. This is what the main protagonist infers because like this guy, ugly, um, a wretched man like me, found a beautiful woman and had two beautiful children. For sure, this the is a miracle granted by the room. In the book, it's not exactly a room; it's like a giant gold sphere levitating in the air. So I understand why for the movie they didn't go this ultra flashy representation, even if at one point when there is the camera panning back into the room, you see like a golden there is like a golden light flashing for a brief moment. So maybe that's the moment where the wish granter appears. And so there is the possibility that actually the writer and the professor received their gift anyway. Their wish was granted. It's very interesting because a lot of things are not told directly, and even in the novel, a lot of things are left unclear, and it's one of the strengths of the novel. And the stalker actually asks for a wish. The final pages of the book are so good. I remember even quoting them once to a meeting because they were so powerful. Like he finally comes clean with himself. He says, "I'm nothing but a worm. I'm a terrible person. However, if there is one wish in my heart, is this happiness, happiness for everyone." And that's how the book ends. Sorry for spoiling the end of the book, but
Th-
trust
Does
me.
does anyone wish for anything bad? Because like one of the reasons why I think the
Yes,
scientists want.
in the book it doesn't say. However, this is a very interesting theme in the final part of the movie, and I think it's a poignant question, and I understand the fear of the writer, like the idea that again, since for me there is this idea of the zone being the divine into our world, and that's why the secular government wants to bar it from people, etc., etc. Um, uh, the potential to misuse this power, it's real. After all, what's the word that it's used very often to describe God in Christianity? Logos. The incarnate word, it's called logos. Christ is the logos. Logos means the word, true, but it's the idea of language, understanding, everything that has to do with um, knowing, understanding, and communicating. In a sense, it could be seen as a job to um, using those powers for propaganda. I think that's a very interesting idea that could rise from a scenario. What if a politician were to go into the zone and ask for his deepest desire? What if? And that's one of the reasons why the professor wants to blow it up. He doesn't want to give anyone the chance to do this. However, the stalker stops him because, in a sense, he knows the zone welcomes only the wretched ones. A politician wouldn't be able to survive it. The meat grinder would probably tear him apart.
I see. So basically, only unhappy people can see
Yes,
it.
um, only the truly unhappy. That's why reminds me of that passage in the Bible. Let me see if I can find it. You know the one, "Come to me, you who toil." There it is. It's Matthew 11:28. Let me read it to you. Just 1 second. I think it's also quoted in many American movies. "Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls." I think it's the same idea. Only the people who are truly destitute and who are truly humble can enter the zone, and that's why even the stalker says to the writer, you didn't die because the zone saw your true nature and allowed you to come true.
I guess if only good people or whatever can go in, I guess only good people would in the or
Not
rather.
really good people, I'd say. I'd say people who are truly at the end of the rope,
Hmm.
because the writer only belittles himself. He always has this bittersweet. Um, you can feel in that it's like his sarcasm is hiding at how he criticizes everything, and he criticizes in the worst terms himself, especially.
Hmm. So yeah, and I also remember, didn't the Stoker say something about that? It's good to be soft and weak, and it's bad to be.
I really like, because he says that softness and soft and weakness, it's all that it's linked to youth and birth, and hardness and strength is all that it's connected to death and the end of everything. When a man is born, he's soft and tender. When a plant is born, he bends when the wind passes through. Instead, when a tree is old,
Uh,
it's ready to die or to be chopped.
Apparently, according to the Wikipedia, that's he's quoting somebody called
Hmm.
Lao Tse. I can't. It's a Chinese name.
Yeah, he quotes a couple of poems by this guy and a poem by his own father.
Um,
The interesting thing is that technically, the poem that he recites, that it's his father's poem, he attributes it to the porcupine's brother, the one who died in
yes,
the
by
ride.
his father. Do you mean the director's father? Or
Yes,
yeah,
yes,
I see.
Tarkovsky's father.
Hmm. All right. Okay, so I guess if you remember in the DMs, yeah, the whole thing about the room kind of reminded me of Inga from Ango. Um, and
Yeah, I see. Even if tonally they are very different, I think. I wouldn't say. Probably I was mistaken when I said that the zone is a monkey paw. Men make it into a monkey paw because the zone is absolute honesty, and this is the problem. We cannot be honest even with ourselves, and that's what happened to the porcupine. That's why when he went back to the zone, in a sense, begging for forgiveness, begging for his brother back, all he got was his true desire, and his true desire disgusted him so much. He despaired. In a sense, the porcupine is sort of a Judas. He committed a crime, he sold his own brother, in this case, and instead of asking for real forgiveness, when he saw what he did and what he truly wanted, he couldn't accept himself anymore and he killed himself.
hmm. The reason why I said that it reminded me of Inga is because in that case, if you recall, there is one character which decides to kill herself rather than
Oh, yeah.
let Inga
Her
decide.
true nature, yeah,
Yeah.
being revealed, therefore spoiling, in a sense,
Oh,
what others knew,
yeah. I
and
think
even herself.
yeah. I think what she said is that she didn't want Inga or someone else
Hmm.
to decide for her what is true for herself.
Yeah,
Not.
and you can see the same fear at the end of the movie when the characters are in front of the, let's call it, the wish granting room.
Yeah,
They are there. And,
yeah, and the difference is that while here it's sort of shown as a fear in Stoker, there in Ango it was sort of shown as um almost a courageous thing. It seemed.
Well, because in a sense it is, and in the movie it's neither praised nor belittled. It's more like it's human nature. We want to know the truth, but at the same time we are afraid of the truth,
But I mean,
especially the truth
I mean,
about ourselves.
I mean, the movie maybe doesn't belittle them, but the Stoker certainly does at the end, doesn't he? Uh,
No, not really. It seems sympathetic. It's more like I understand. I understand why you cannot do it. It's not your fault.
Yeah, he's also like very upset, maybe even disturbed. It's sort of like he comes to a revelation that all the people he's helped have never really believed in the room.
Yeah, but this is the thing. This is the thing. It doesn't. It's very bitter, more at not at them, but at their lack of belief. But in a sense, you can, and this is maybe it's me reading too much into it. It's more upset with the world that shaped them into being like this than them. Because one of the themes is also this: how it's this world that twisted the view of the zone and of how and why the people want to go in there. And him being sort of this figure in between a priest for the zone and a prisoner of the zone. That's why he's so conflicted, because he wants people to see the great potential of the zone, and at the same time, people just want to go there to see a miracle. A little bit like Herod Agrippa, who wanted to see Jesus perform miracles in front of him, and that's it. Fill this house with bread if you are the Messiah. And it's the same thing. These people go in front of the room and they're there to challenge it. If you really are the room that grants wishes, show it to me. And then I will believe. But then they are afraid. And it's not their fault, like the wife explains to him. But I think he knows already that. It's just at that moment he's so tired, so fed up with everything, that he voices his inner fears.
mm, I mean, in a sense,
I'm sorry I'm using the Bible so much, but I truly believe this movie has a lot of themes that are linked to Christianity, especially because Tarkovsky was a Christian.
yeah, I'm pretty sure. I think that I mean, what you have said is reflected in most of what I've, I've heard other people say about it. Yeah, so it's not just your take on it.
I'll
Um,
be honest, when I read the novel the first time, I was in I think I was like 17, and it was that moment, when you are rebellious. Um, it was when I was like, I'm done with this God idea. It's all mumbo jumbo, made to control us. It's just something that's been handed down to people and they don't want to give up. After reading the novel, incredibly, I felt like the need almost to reevaluate this idea. And after watching the movie, I read the book and then I watched the movie. I was like, I cannot. It absolutely makes sense. The novel and the book were two of the defining moments in my life when it came to truly believing in God. Going from I believe in God because my family believes in God, and to I believe in God because God believes in me, in a sense.
mm, hasn't the zone kind of turned the Stalker into a nervous a wreck though, in a way.
Well, in the story, it's clear that this person was kind of a mess even without the zone. If anything, the zone gave a purpose to his nervousness, to his erratic and vagabond like nature, because at least it invites him to go to one place. And again, this is similar to uh, what Peter says in response when Jesus asks them, "And you, do you want to leave as well?" And he replies, "Where should we go, O Lord? You only have words of true life." is similar to me in a sense to the call of the zone. The zone is inviting him because he knows how damaged he has been by life, and he has a chance there.
Yeah,
In a way, that's why I say he's sort of a priest. He's a broken priest. He's he's an misunderstood prophet. He's the king of nothing. He's the king of the zone. And again, priest, prophet, and king is something that it's a call in the Bible.
yeah. The zone basically seeks for broken people.
hmm
I mean,
Because in a way, the only way that they can be fixed is in this strange place that escapes complete understanding from the human mind, because it's something more than we can understand.
is he fit though? I mean, um, I guess
The
not.
thing is,
Mm,
I do believe the movie a bit less than the novel way more. It can be read in so many ways. One of the expressions that the Strugatsky brothers, which who are the writers of Roadside Picnic and helped Andrej Tarkovsky writing this movie, one of their quotes is, "We may be using microscopes as hammers. The idea is maybe we are misunderstanding the true purpose of something outside of us and inside of us." And I think this is one of the concepts that lingers throughout the movie. How we truly understand who we are, what our nature is, what we truly want, what we truly are called to do.
I wonder if some of the things that the writer says is Tarkovsky speaking about himself a little bit.
A little bit for sure.
So
I think it speaks through the three characters. For me, they represent the conflict side of him. On one side, you've got the stalker, who's the guy searching. On one side, you've got the writer, who's the guy who wants to analyze humanity on an emotional level. And on the other side, you've got the professor, the more pragmatic of the three. And I think it's the could be the division between logos, ethos, and pathos in man. We've got the thinking side, the logical side, and the emotional side, and their differences and their bickering inside the greater question of the divine,
mm,
which is the zone.
I mean, for a long while, until like they reached the last building or whatever,
hmm
the professor sounded me more like an angry, obstinate farmer rather than a professor. So
because he was hiding his true goal, I think. He was putting up. If you think about it, they are all putting up an act. The stalker tries not to think about his family, what to leave behind. The um, the writer puts on this cynical exterior, but inside is a very wounded person who cares about others and what others think of him. And the professor wants to do the right thing, but at the same time he's very insecure. And at the end he's persuaded because he realizes wretchedness,
mm,
and he starts to slowly dismantle the bomb.
so
Once he understands, because he wants to blow up the zone, and then he realizes, if I blow up the zone, this person will be left without anything,
so he
and then
does.
I'd be
Yeah, I guess he didn't blow it up out of pity for
yeah.
the Stoker.
Yeah, I wouldn't say pity, I'd say mercy.
Mm.
He realizes that the stalker is not wrong, that indeed the zone is a strange gift.
So, on being told that Stoker should be faster and more dynamic, Tarkovsky replied, "The film needs to be slower and duller at the start so that the viewers who walked into the wrong theater have time to leave before the main action starts." Uh,
Interesting. Tarkovsky is a very interesting author.
I
If
mean,
I watch some of his interviews, very peculiar.
so, I mean, to me, it sounds like all those big directors. He has a big ego. I imagine.
From the interviews, yes, he has a big ego, but at the same time, he's not someone that would be offended if you left the movie.
He would basically think less of you for it, essentially.
No, I don't
No,
think
no,
so. I don't think.
Yeah,
I don't
I
think
guess he,
so.
yeah, I guess he acknowledges that his film isn't like, you know, it's kind of not for everyone, let's say,
Yeah,
absolutely.
because it is quite a boring film, like really, it's interesting, but like when I was watching it, I like almost fell asleep basically, multiple times. Uh,
Trust me, Fahrenheit. You
and
wanna
there were
see a movie?
points.
Watch,
Yeah,
watch Solaris. I love Stalker. I can watch. It's almost 3 hours. I can watch it without feeling bored 1 second.
mm.
Solaris, I fell asleep. I have
Oh
to
man.
admit, I fell asleep during the first act because it was too slow.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a bad movie, but I don't know, there are so many people saying that like it's one of the greatest movies ever made, and all that.
For me, I understand both sides. It's a movie that I love, but I cannot deny that it's very slow. And at the same time, I can understand why people don't like it because of how slow it is. Yet, there is something captivating in the atmosphere that it creates. And I know it's cliched, saying, "Oh, but it's Tarkovsky, great atmosphere. Look at this, the camera movements. Look at the emotions on the faces. Look at the choices of angles. There is that beautiful scene in that underground tunnel when the writer looks back and you see that shaft of light just pouring from above and those
Yeah.
marked shadows. It's beautiful. It's evocative. It's true art. At the same time, I can understand when people say, "What happened in this movie?" Pretty much nothing. It was people wandering in this
Yeah.
place, stopping
Like,
every once in a while to have a nap and chatting. Then a dog appeared. Then the dog left. They reached the bloody place, and then they
yeah.
just left. And the dog was
Yeah.
there, decided to tag along, and that's it.
I
Yeah.
think
I can understand what
Honestly,
you want.
the I think the dog makes the film. By the way,
Well, the
but
dog is so cute. I would love a dog like that.
yeah, yeah.
I
Well,
wanna pat him.
I did like the film. I guess Stalk has this problem where people really love it, and so they end up talking it up a lot, and then they say,
Mhm.
"Oh, this is the best film ever made." I don't like. I wouldn't agree with that. It's good, but
Mhm.
it's not like super amazing. Um,
I love the
and
concept behind it.
I actually think if filming went if filming went a bit better, um, maybe the end result would have been even you know even more well polished and
Going
than
back
it
to your to
than what
one
we
of
get.
your criticisms, the idea of a fourth character that dies in a horrible way, I don't know because on one side it
Yeah,
would be
I don't think it really would work because I think you know a lot of the film is about having faith, right? And
yeah.
so
I'd
it's
say
like
it
if
would be
someone like
difficult.
dies, it's sort of like counter signals that
Mhm.
message.
The thing is,
Uh,
it would be difficult to pull it out well. I think
yes.
I'm sure that they considered it because in the novel it happens. The
Mm,
meat grinder, it's towards the end, more or less at the same time in the movie. Towards the end, someone gets mangled and killed. So I think probably the since this movie was written by the authors of the book, they were like, let's not repeat that scene. However, I can understand would have been interesting. For example, if two characters went ahead, the writer and I don't know, maybe could have been a military person. I don't know, someone who wants in the zone the possibility of twisting it for political and military use. And that person, there is that scene in the Mick Grinder where you see that crow flying, then disappearing and appearing again. It shows that there is something otherworldly going on. If something like this
Yeah,
happens,
yeah.
like this
That's a
person
great shot.
suddenly disappearing, even not even need for gore or anything, just this person, it's lost to the zone literally. It could have been done. I'm not saying, but at the same time, it could have been a bit too
Yeah,
obvious.
I guess it's like wouldn't have to be graphic exactly.
No, no, it's
It could have just
still a
been
story.
very
Maintain
it could have
in a sense.
yeah, it could have been like quite some uncanny. Um,
Hmm.
I don't know. I think yeah, I don't. It's obviously it's hard to tell if it would have been better or worse.
Hmm.
But it's fine that it was how it is. I guess.
Yeah. Again, I understand very well this criticism. This movie is very dear to me because I loved the novel, and I see a lot of the same ideas being brought over. You can see the character in the novel. It's closer to. It's in between the professor and writer. At the beginning, he's very cynical. He's very. I don't believe any in. It's sort of Han Solo in A New Hope when he says when he talks about the Jedi faith, it's like I just believe in, what does he say, in my skills and a few tricks. He's more of that kind of character. Like I'm a mercenary. After, I'm not gonna spoil what happens, but towards the end it changes. I already spoiled it when he wishes for happiness for everyone. His humanity comes forth in a sense. He's still the same flawed person, but in the movie you can see that humanity. He wants everyone to be able to truly find real joy, but he knows how wretched, how flawed, how weak he is, and that's why he has to go back to the zone because the zone is what gives sense to him, what allows him to go on. Again, I'm not saying this movie is perfect, but to me, spoke of some great themes that make sense, some great ideas that all men should strive for, no matter how broken we are. And that's why I love this movie. I will not deny that many of the criticisms make absolute sense. However, there is something more to the movie.
So, what did you think of the last few minutes of the movie where they show that Monkey, the daughter of the Stoker, has got?
I love it. I love that scene.
Why do you
Yeah,
And I
it's very
think
good actually.
it's
It's very kinetic.
it's it almost makes me wish for a TV series that follows the aftermath of the zone, and that's why I use this. I would like to use this term, Flarepunk. Doesn't exist. It's something that you know what a sun flare is. It's when
Yeah,
the sun emits all of a sudden a lot of like energy, radiation, etc., and you see this sprout pretty much coming out of it. And if it reaches Earth, it can cause a lot of damage. I think the zone is something similar. It's like something beyond Earth itself that disrupts our reality. It's something in between solar punk and cyberpunk, and you can see this towards the end when there is like that shot of this strange family, the stalker, his wife, and the child monkey, like they call her in the movie, um, heading towards their home, and you see this landscape with this I think it's the power plant itself, the
yeah,
Chernobyl power
yeah. There's
plant
a
in the background, and there is this
yeah,
strange sense of doom, like the Earth is doomed because of mankind, and the zone is dooming us in a different way. In the novel, it's interesting because the zone at one point brought back some of the dead. It's not in the movie; it's more in the video game. But at one point, there is the father of the main protagonist, Red, the Stalker. It's in his home drinking vodka, but he died like 10 years ago, and somehow he's back. He came
Hmm.
out of literally he dug himself out of his own grave and back to his son's house. It's kind of weird. It's like this strange. Um, really, it's like sci-fi. It's a weird type of sci-fi that I really can't describe. That's why I like to call it flare punk. It's something that it's outside of our control. That it's sci-fi, and yet it's beyond the boundaries of machine and the flesh. It's not cyberpunk because it's not about augmentations, and it's not anything else. It's
Yeah,
psychic
yeah,
powers by design.
it's otherworldly, right?
Hmm.
Yeah. As for the ending, I think I think we get like a bunch of the film's best scenes at that
Yeah,
point. You get the great scene the stalker and his wife that we spoke about, and then you have quite a lengthy scene with the daughter. Um,
experimenting.
yes, yeah, yeah, like experimenting, but it's really well done. Because it sort of ends how the film starts with
Yes.
vibrations moving
Hmm.
a cup along a table, but this time she's sort of doing it see, like see, with her mind, and
Hmm.
it's very I don't know, yeah,
There is
like
something
kinetic
there
feeling.
is something
It
in
feels like
between. Sorry, go first.
yeah, it feels if it it feels like she really is applying a force from her mind onto the
Hmm.
cup. It's very it's not very smooth.
Yeah.
But like, you know, you could, but sort of at the same time, you would kind of tell that there's someone underneath the table with a magnet, you know, slowly moving the cups across. So it's quite a cute in that way as well.
Hmm.
But yeah, it's a great scene, and then the train comes through, and
There is
then
something
it
like
kind of
yeah, with the vibrations and everything. It's in between charming and haunting. There is something that
yeah.
gives you both hope and terror for the future. This new generation coming out of the effects of the zone has a great potential, and you see it manifest in this girl. She can move objects with her mind. Will she use them for good? Will she use them for bad? Will she be taken by the government and experimented upon and turned into a weapon or something like this? I think it's
I was thinking of the X-Men.
chilling.
I was thinking
Yeah,
of the
but the
X-Men.
thing
Yeah.
is exactly, but it's done. It's the best way to depict something like this because it lets you wonder what the future has in store, not only for her, but for all of mankind, because of what the zone can give us.
Um, so I don't know if either of you had this problem, but sometimes I found it a bit hard to say which, especially towards the start. After a while, I guess I got used to it, but especially uh, at the start, which of the three characters was speaking because their voices kind of sounded the same.
Yeah,
Okay,
actually, I have a question. Like, were the voices sort of dubbed over afterwards?
no,
Because
no. Um,
because the audio is very clean, surprisingly so. Which was very surprising.
the audio is
It
so
sort of
good.
feels yeah, it is. It like the audio is amazing. Where like at some points I thought, oh, they've just dubbed this over with like the best dub I've ever heard in my life. Right, like somehow Tarkovsky um like could sort of achieve this incredibly crisp sound like outdoors and in like these echoey places.
Hmm.
I'm not quite sure how he did it, but yeah, as for like not really being able to tell who's speaking, I did get it sometimes, but like I couldn't see their mouths. I know, sort of talking in like hushed tones.
Hmm.
But for the most part, I didn't really have a issue. Like their voices were kind of distinct enough. But
Yeah, exactly.
sometimes it was kind of unclear, and I had to like look at the screen quite closely to like see who was like moving their mouths.
Honestly, I never had a problem. Also, um, I watched the Italian dub too, so I sort of cheated. And in the Italian version, they give very distinct, like even more distinct voices. What is funny is in the Italian dub, the main protagonist, the Stalker, is voiced by the same dubber that uh, provides the voice for Mr. Burns in The Simpsons. So it's sort of like kind of funny to me to the same actor, and I think the guy also voiced Leslie Nielsen in a few movies. So to me, it's kind of funny too. The same voice for a very serious character, and then in The Simpsons or The Naked Gun.
Yeah, that's like a very weird
Hmm.
theme. I guess. Well, Mr. Burns was the boss of a power plant, so
Exactly.
it kind
That
of
was
makes a weird sort of
in my head
sense.
canon. Yeah, in my head canon, the Stalker later on fled to the United States, changed his name, and now he lives in Springfield.
Yeah.
Jokes aside, I had no issues with the characters and how they spoke. Their voices were different enough. Never had an issue, personally.
Yeah, I guess it sort of helps if you can sort of like understand the language
Hmm.
and you're not reading subtitles. I think because it's kind of like that for everything where like you're busy reading the subtitles and the voices start like merging together. At least that's the case for me anyway. Right, I sort of lose track of like who's speaking, but yeah, then,
It
like
can get a
maybe I'm
bit
an idiot.
dicey at times, true.
Yeah,
But honestly, it wasn't too bad.
no, it wasn't. It was fine.
Oh, right. So Fahrenheit, what rating would you give the movie?
I, I would give this film a. It's difficult to score. I would give it a 7 out of 10.
Okay. What about you, Kiasmo?
Like Fahrenheit said, it's a very difficult movie to rate. For me, it's an 8.5. However, with a big asterisk, admitting that I've got biases and that the cinematography itself is just it's so good. If you were to show, and I think there was even a short um like a short edit with just the music from the movie and different shots just to give you a feeling of the atmosphere of the movie. That's already a 1.5. The story itself, it's a solid 7 because I really like the themes. Sometimes a bit too slow, and some of the dialogues are a bit confusing, but I really love this movie. I'm biased towards it, I can admit it, but I still think it's a great movie.
What about you, Colby?
Y-
Sorry, are you there? No.
Nah, I don't think it's there. It's fine. It's fine. Yeah, yeah. I think you could take basically any still from the film
Oh yeah,
and it would look good.
you can
I
make
like
them
I
into
like I like I
posters.
like this scene a lot. Just
Hmm.
like this visually that I posted in the recording channel, where like it was a very peculiar scene because it's like he sort of gets transported elsewhere, and then
Yeah, it's
he's
like
sort of found by
he's
his dog.
dreaming. I think it's his dream.
He's dreaming, and it's just a very beautiful scene. That
Yeah.
one.
Absolutely.
So, yeah. Speaking of the dog, what's up with the dog? If I
Okay,
may
and
ask.
here I've got an interesting story. So, a lot of people were speculating, oh, the dog is sort of a guardian angel sent by the zone to protect the stalker. Oh, the dog is a metaphor for the human soul roaming the area without really understanding it. And Tarkovsky himself at one point was like, no, it's just a dog. I just wanted to put a dog in the movie. Let it be. It's just a dog.
Yeah. I was wondering like how this dog like managed to survive. So like I was thinking that like
Well,
this dog was like supernatural in some way, but that was just like my like
but
head canon.
then you
Uh,
realize the nuclear disaster really happened in that area, and still today you got wildlife there. So it's not that improbable that a
yeah.
dog can survive in the zone.
I guess. I guess. I don't know. h- I mean, dogs are
The
domestic animals. So.
the Soviets proved the theory by destroying half of Ukraine and Belarus. You see how dedicated they were to this movie. Sorry, that was a cruel joke at the expense of a lot of people.
It's
It was their sacrifice was very generous, I guess. Oh
Yeah,
man.
we need to prove this theory true. Blow up the nuclear reactor.
Oh no.
okay. So I'll also give it 7 out of 10. I guess. So yeah. I guess what else is there? What is there any meaning to the rain? At the end, like did it just happen to rain?
I think it just happened
To
to
rain.
rain.
In the room.
One
I
of
mean.
the, if you notice, one of the themes is how everything is damp, wet, filled with water, because it creates a lot of reflections. And water is shapeless. And I think this is a little bit Tarkovsky playing with the idea that that's how human desire is. Keeps flowing, keep moving. He hasn't got a still form.
Mm,
That's maybe one of the few symbolism that slipped in,
yeah.
because even in the shape of the he wrote the shape of the soul, he talks a little bit about this.
Mm. Yeah, I thought it was just like trying to make the zone look alive, like it's a living thing or something.
Hmm.
Of
Also
organic.
that, yeah, like it's a breathing, bleeding system of traps. There is not just the nature, but it's also water flowing that gives it life.
So earlier you said that the last scene like made you want to see like what would happen afterwards.
Hmm.
Isn't that basically what the games are, or are they something?
Well, the games I see them more like an alternative timeline, because a lot of things are different. They are, first and foremost, they are set after the Chernobyl disaster, and they have more to do with an interesting set of ideas that were developed during the Soviet era. So there is this concept is something that happens very often. What I saw in Russian ideas of um, consciousness existing beyond the boundaries of lives. You see it in even in the Metro 2023 books and the video games. Funny enough, some of the people who worked for the Stalker video games later on moved to those games. And the idea is that there is something outside of our control and above us. Sort of like you got the stratosphere, etc., different layers in the environment. There is at one point what is called the noosphere, which is the collective consciousness of humanity, whose will can change how things go. how people react and behave. And Stalin, interesting enough, was very interested in this kind of paranormal research. There are studies done by Soviet researcher into psychic powers, etc. You see a little bit of this in the movie with Monkey and her powers. However, in the video games, they use this idea of the noosphere and say that pretty much combined with the disaster of the nuclear reactor, he created the zone because of an experiment. So the book inspired the movie, and both the movie and the book and the Soviet research into this idea of the noosphere, of the greater consciousness that can be used to control people, pretty much psychic warfare. That was the idea behind it. Gave birth to the core idea of the video game, which is the monolith and the power of the reactor being used in the same way, pretty much. So the video game is linked to the book, to the movie, and to this research into the paranormal, pretty much, that the Soviet scientists were trying to use to manipulate the minds and control people.
I see. I see. Um, all right. Anything else to add about the movie?
Well, like I said before, I really like this idea that the zone is like this liminal area which is both touched and in a sense cursed by the divine, and how the stalker, it's a wretched man, is marked. So it reminds me a little bit like in the Bible when there is that passage in I don't remember, I think it's Elijah, about the suffering servant, and he sort of has this quote unquote Christness to him. It's like almost reluctantly taking this call onto himself. And I really like that at one point the writer makes a crown of thorns for himself and he puts it on. So he's sort of mocking the stalker in that moment.
Mm,
Yeah, yeah.
mm. The last thing I want to speak about is the music.
Oh my
Just
gosh, I love it.
just this very subtle like synth music that sort of plays throughout the whole
If you
film, and
like
it's
it, check the authors. Um, uh, he, he made some. I'll link some of them because this guy made some real great music. He made the music for a movie based on another novel that's called Siberiade.
yeah, okay, yeah.
Oh, it's
I'll
so good.
see if yeah,
This guy,
because it's
Edward Artemiev.
yeah, because it's very sort of dulled down the music in this
Mhm.
film, but at the same time it's very effective where it
It's
needs to
evocative.
be.
It's evocative. That's the thing. I
Yes,
think
yeah.
it really conjures up the right sounds and the right emotions, and you can. It's a whole new layer on top of something that I really like.
Yeah,
The
and I would
main
also
themes.
say sound design as well. Like
Mhm.
when our three guys are sort of entering the zone on that rail car, there's like these sort of pangs of like sounds,
Yeah.
and that makes it feel very
Mm.
sort of I don't know, like bizarre, like you're sort of I don't know, like there's like some energy surrounding them.
Mhm.
I don't really know how to say it, but yeah, it's very
The
good sort
sounds,
of
yeah, it mix.
detail.
It's interesting because they mix this guy was really good at mixing the ambient sounds. For example, there is this piece called, I think it's called Uh, I don't remember. I think it's like the train ride or something like this, which is the music that plays when they are riding the train into the that small cart into the zone, and the sound of the metal wheels then mixes with the music itself, and it
Yeah,
creates that very weird soundscape. It's so good.
yeah. I kind of wish we saw more of that of that kind of like a Soviet era machinery on screen
Hmm.
because it was
Yeah,
really interesting when when
exactly.
where they were sort of ferrying around the trains and they were sort of
I've,
on the
mhm.
car and they were using it to stick around and then that rail car was quite cool. All that sort of that kind of like thrown together machinery, and I am imagine that in a zone there would be like a lot of these sort of I don't know like a cool I don't know machines or something,
Mhm.
but I don't
But
know
that's what I
like
really like, because it makes you curious about this world. What
yeah,
little is shown is enough that makes you curious, but doesn't show enough that ruins the mystery. And it's another of the another of the themes of the movie is exactly that. What is the zone itself? What is hidden? We will never be truly able to understand it, and only the stalker has a glimpse, has a little bit of understanding going on. And at the
yeah,
same time, he is, because he understands enough, he has to serve the zone. And that's why I think there is like the idea of him being sort of a priest to the zone. And that's why I see a sort of the divine in the zone. Once you understand enough, you cannot pull back from it.
All right. Um, okay, I guess another thing which I did not understand was why is it that stalkers can't or are not supposed to enter the room? I mean, Porcupine was able to get there, so but still, I remember that the stalker said that stalkers are not supposed, or is it just him? Is it just that he doesn't want to go to the room?
Yeah, I think it's more like him realizing that he already received this gift. Again, this is me having read the novel, but even in a sense, his wish is already being granted. The zone itself is what all the stalkers really want.
I see.
They don't need any other answer. The answer is their desire has already been answered, and is the
Hmm. Okay, so anything else to add, Kiasmo?
no. I think more or less we touched. It's just a difficult movie to talk about because many of these concepts are vague enough that make you think, but at the same time, you need to come to your own conclusion. And this is something that is very similar to the novel itself, where they don't say exactly what the zone is, what the mystery of the zone is. It's something, in a sense, you need to enter the zone yourself, and you need to find your own zone.
Um, I guess can you guys do you guys want to talk about or can you remember any of the monologues? Especially, I think they're mostly by the writer. I think,
Hmm.
for example, they talked about music.
The
Uh,
most poignant one for me is when he confesses weakness. It's like, I hate myself. I don't even understand what I'm doing all this. And the stalker tries to um, tell to him that in the end that doesn't really matter. What matters is on a quest, and that's very touching, I think, because you see the true colors of those two characters. On one side, you've got this very cynical author that breaks down because he is being spared by the zone. In a sense, he understands that. And it's interesting because you see him grabbing, he's about to sit on the edge of that sort of metal well. He grabs a
Yeah,
rock and throws it in there. Like he learned, finally, he learned his lesson. Before you do anything, check that it's safe. And then he confesses. There's sort of a confession to this priest. That is the stalker.
yeah. But
He admits his own wretchedness. And finally, in a sense, is accepted.
so he throws the stone down this huge pipe.
Hmm.
But if you sort of listen to the sound, like this stone like falls for like 10 seconds.
Yeah, it takes
So like
forever. You can only imagine how deep.
yeah. So it's like a eternity to fall down there. But he
Hmm.
just sort of sits on the very edge of this pipe.
Yeah.
He sort of perches on it like like it's nothing. And I think it's like a very good way to show in that moment he's
Hmm.
fearless, right? He doesn't
He's literally, yes, on the brink of the abyss.
yeah
He's staring down into the abyss, and finally, maybe the abyss is staring back at him, and he's able to tell the truth. That he
yeah
despises what he's doing, and that he's not even sure why it went there. And in that moment, it's when they finally pass the test of the zone and they are allowed to reach the the room that grants us the wishes.
All right then. That's all I've got. How about you guys? Is that all?
This is a movie that honestly I could talk for hours, but
Mm.
it will be more or less what I said here. I'd say it's enough. Um, for sure, it's a movie that it's watching one time. I understand why people find it boring, why people find it too slow. At the same time, as someone that's very interested in the idea of the sacred and the profane and the taboo, a lot of these themes come throughout the movie, even if they are not spoken directly. A lot of it comes through in this movie. You sent a short video about Slavoj Zizek talking about some of the meaning in it, and I wrote a couple of responses to this. For example, he talks about the pre-narrative density, and you were a bit confused about it. I think what he's talking about is how you see that everything is lived in and almost buttered. You can feel that everything is humid, dumped on, desecrated by time itself. But it's not a cruel act of time. Time just is. Time goes on. And so, of course, everything in time decays. Everything in time is consumed. Time, in a sense, is a character in the movie. That's why some of the shots linger. Sometimes maybe they linger too long, but I think it was intentional. It wasn't just to, oh, I want to reach the 2 hour and 40 minutes mark. Tarkovsky did so intentionally. He wanted to express the passage of time. And many of the dialogues, in a sense, indeed do read like prayers. It's the characters um, stripping themselves to their very core and admitting what they truly feel. And Zizek seems to say it's weird that they pray to the ground. I disagree. this is a take of someone that does not understand prayer. When you pray looking at the sky, usually it's when you're trying. Is the fake prayer of um, of which Jesus talks. There is that parable where I think it's a Levite prays looking at the sky and saying, "Thank you, God, because I'm not like these odds, this, I'm not that." And then you've got the publican, which was seen, and the publicans were seen as the scum of the earth. They were working with this foreign government, the Romans, to collect taxes, and usually they were asking for extra money because that was the only way they could make an income. And this person looks towards the not towards the sky, but looks down because he admits his own flaws and said, "Have mercy on me, a sinner." Pretty much. And it's the same. The prayers in this, like when they have these monologues, they seem like prayers, and they don't look up because they recognize that they are fallen, that there is something wrong with that.
Mm.
So I think Zizek has some interesting views. Like always, he's a very smart person. I wish I were as smart as him, but he's limited by his own ideological views in this.
Yeah, I
The
mean,
zone.
yeah, I will. I will say like about Zizek. I don't really know why, but for some reason, like he's like that's a one like leftist that doesn't like annoy me.
No, because
But
I think it's because he's honest. He
yes,
always
yes,
to look for something. It is not blocked by. He has limits because of his ideology, but at the same time, he's not limited by his ideology. I will put it
yes,
this
yeah,
way.
that's true. Also just like just on the Zizek for a moment. I just wish I could understand him.
Yeah,
Like
sometimes he speaks in ways, and I think that's
oh no, like
why some.
I mean like physically, like physically hearing like what he's saying.
He has a very thick accent. But who am I to
There's
say? Who am I to speak on?
no, you're fine. I would. You're you're nothing compared to the voice of Zizek, which is like the
Weirdly enough,
thickest, most
sometimes
like
he
bummed
sounds.
up thing I've ever heard.
It's weird because sometimes he sounds more of a stereotypical Italian than me when he speaks in English, which I
Mm,
find kind of because he's Slovenian.
Yeah, I think
yeah.
he moves a lot, and he does this thing where
Exactly.
he's always
Oh man, yeah, he's got like
touching
all
his
these
nose.
ticks.
Yes.
It
Yeah.
just feels a lot. Reminds me of this about the stereotype as Italians. Like when we speak, we have to emphasize everything with body language.
But like he's like constantly like touching his nose, which is I don't know, like that's like weird.
That one might be cocaine, but I'm not entirely
Yeah,
sure.
yeah, I imagine so.
Um. All right, and he has a very strange dress sense as well, I guess. Yeah, but enough about him. So, um,
Sorry, it was after the zigzag tangent.
yeah, I think yeah, I think we have basically discussed everything. Well, not everything.
Yeah,
There's probably more, but
it's
um,
just. I think it's a movie that has to be experienced at
yes.
Yeah,
least
I
once.
agree. Yeah, at least
It's
once.
it's a sci-fi that talks more about the soul and the nature of man than sci-fi itself, and that's why I find it fascinating, and that's why I use the term Flarepunk. It's something that comes and touches, and it's out of our control in a sense.
Yeah, yeah,
A
and
solar flare. It's an explosion that touches
yeah,
and pushes.
I will like I will say that I am glad that I did watch this film rather than like not do this. So that's something, I guess. Yeah. Also, yeah, I like your idea of Flarepunk, because Roadside Picnic is basically the Flarepunk book, right? If I'm thinking about it correctly,
There are
where
very few. I think there are very few pieces of art that work with these ideas in such unique settings and
mm,
with such, I don't know, the characters they felt so unique. I don't know how to describe. They said so much about human nature in general. They are archetypes. They work really well because they are like of what men wish to be and what men are, with all their ugliness or their um, they make a lot of mistakes. Like they disobey direct orders from the stalker. They get um, one of them even brings a fire weapon in the zone, and the stalker is like, "Are you crazy? You can feel the terror when when he realizes that the guy has a loaded weapon with him." Uh,
yeah,
it That's why I find it so fascinating. Again, I agree with you. I understand the criticisms. I I would admit that it could have been done in a different way, maybe even, but at the same time, it's such a unique movie. There is such a unique, uh, sensitive aspect to it. I don't know how to describe it. And very, very few pieces of media gave me the same kind of emotions and um, beyond emotions, there is something like that resonates with someone who believes in God when watching a movie like this.
yeah. Also, I imagine like this film would have been like very painful to film, like, and not like
Yeah.
not like physically, but I mean like, you know um wading through those, like, those old tunnels, having to go out, to these dangerous places,
Hmm.
and then like afterwards having to like reshoot like most of the film as well, and also like most of the shots in this film are quite long and extended,
Hmm.
where like if a actor messes up, they're gonna have to basically like retake the whole shot again.
Indeed.
So I imagine the filming was very long and very laborious and very miserable. But
Honestly, I do wonder when sometimes some of the, let's say, blunders of the actors
mm,
worked in favor of the message. For example, and there is a scene where the wife of the stalker is in the same room, and one of the he just finished to brush his teeth, is about to head out, and you can see in the background she's talking about how he's going to end up again in jail and the family will be destroyed because of this, and you can see a hand towel falling to the ground. Probably it wasn't intended, but it works in a sense in the movie's favor because she's talking about everything going into pieces, being destroyed because of his how headstrong and stubborn he is, and you see this item in the background falling down and hitting the ground. And in a sense, it
yeah, yeah,
becomes like a metaphor for the disintegration
yeah. I
that
guess,
she's talking
yeah.
about.
I wouldn't go that far.
No,
But
no, of
like,
course.
yeah, it's this sort of these sort of mistakes happen all the time in real life. Like,
Exactly. But the
I know,
thing,
I know my towels fall down, so
mhm.
it's a relatable, yeah,
No, exactly. That's why
like
it
these little
works on
mistakes. Um,
multiple levels because it's relatable. It's something that can happen for real, and at the same time, it can be read. It's not mandatory, but it can be read as a metaphor for what the speech that she's giving can mean.
yeah, yeah,
It's just an extra layer that happened by chance. Sense.
Mm.
A little bit like I know that there is that scene in Django Unchained when DiCaprio is stalking and the glass explodes in his hand and he pulls off the shards of glass from his hands. That wasn't intentional. It happened as an accident and yet gave, in a sense, extra value to the scene itself. It's something similar that can happen to certain movies. Improvised lines or unexpected events that the actors work around and make them more. They make more of the scene itself because of the situation.
Yeah, and you know, and sometimes improvisation is sort of is sort of fabricated by the
Oh
director, right?
yeah.
Where they don't tell the actors what's going to happen in a scene, like you know, Alien, that's a dinner scene from Alien is a
Oh
good
yeah.
example, where like everyone is like freaking out because like you know because like Alien just like burst out from this guy's stomach, and everyone's just like
Hmm.
shell shocked, and that's like their genuine reaction.
Yeah.
That's like very
Visceral in all
cool,
the
basically.
sense.
Yeah, yeah.
Visceral
It's very earnest.
yeah.
All the actors' reactions. Yeah, it's good stuff.
All right then. And with that said, let's end